Seconds Out, and today we bring you another one of our best interviews of 2024. It's Danny Flexen caught up with Adam Smith in his first in-depth interview since beating cancer and discussing his future as he looked to return to the boxing world. Watch the full interview to find out what Adam's hopes and aspirations were for 2024.
It's Danny Flexen here for Seconds Out. Delighted to be joined by my good friend and former head of everything, really, at some point at Sky Sports Boxing, Adam Smith. Adam, how are you doing?
I'm good, thanks, Danny, and thank you for asking. It's been a brutal sort of 12, 15 months of recovering from illness, but I feel really good. I just went out to Saudi Arabia last weekend. I came back to Coventry, maybe overdoing it slightly, but had two fight shows and two fight nights. It was great getting back on the mic, and yeah, look, I'm healthy. I'm really pleased to be here. I'm very grateful every day. Very humbled by the fact that my doctors managed to get me through this. And yeah, it's just nice being at home. Three beautiful children, family. You know, my wife has been incredible. The whole journey has been one of difficulty, but also, one of I've learned so much, and I have a whole new perspective on life. I guess, yeah, being at Sky and loving it for so long and putting everything into it for almost 30 years and being all around the world and doing this and that, it's a 24/7 lifestyle. And I think, I got burnt out. I think, in many ways, I needed a break. And although it was a tough break in terms of I was in pain for most of it, and probably last April, May, fighting for my life, it was very dark. But at the same time, it gave me a chance just to sit back and reflect on, where I've been and the great times I've had doing, as you said, head of boxing and commentating and presenting and running around with fighters all around the world. It's been great. I've loved it, and I love it because I just love the sportsmen and women, and I'm so respectful of them. But also, you have to balance life, and I have a family, and I have friends, and I have you have to keep myself healthy. And I think it was a huge wake up call to start sort of recalibrating my life in a different way. Not that I'm not going to be, me all in, enthusiastic, passionate, and give everything I can to any challenges and jobs that come my way, but I have just to have to think about life. It's very, very precious, and I just want to help give back a little bit more, Danny, these days.
It was towards the end of 2022, I recall, when you kind of disappeared from our TV screens, and there were a lot of speculation about where you were and what you were doing and so on. At that point, how long had you actually been suffering? How long had you been unwell?
Look, I mean, I was burning the candle. I had a huge amount of stress. I was physically exhausted. It's tough enough, Danny, being as you know, a dad. I've got three teenagers in the house now, and I'm all in work, and there was lots of things happening, and my mental health was bad. My physical health became really bad. And yeah, look, I felt unwell, and fortunately, I went and got myself checked out, and it was they weren't quite sure what it was at the beginning, but I was diagnosed, with very aggressive and invasive bladder cancer, and that was something I had to deal with out of the blue, which I'd never had a day off ill from Sky, sick from Sky. I just cracked on. I remember being on a ringside set one time with Johnny, and I was just literally, I don't know what temperature I had, and we just cracked on. We just didn't ever, none of us. We just were a brilliant team. We had so much fun together. We hopefully gave the fans, the public a great ride through boxing, and Sky still do. There's some terrific shows coming up, and I miss that. But I just think I was in a place where I needed a break more than anything. But it was a brutal break because it was one where I was. I had my bladder, my prostate, my lymph nodes taken out. I had my whole body reconstructed. I've got a stone in the bag. It's tough, Danny. It's really hard, but then a lot of people are in much worse positions than I am. So you're very grateful for what you have, and you have a very different perspective on life. So yeah, I guess I was pretty burnt out, and that's not that's I mean, I love Sky, and I loved every show I worked on, and I love the people there, and I miss them dearly, and I just think it was the right time to break away and to go and do some of my own things. I've thought about helping sportsmen and women much more. You know, during my time at Sky, the last few years, I was mentoring Savannah Marshall. I was mentoring Daniel Altmaier, the tennis player, and I threw myself into that. And that's the area that I want to do more of. But yeah, I guess I think someone said to me, I think it was Andy Scott a few years back, you know, you're just a robot. You just keep going and going and going. And I guess that, yeah, I needed some sort of break. Unfortunately, it came through cancer. But, you know, that's what I've got to learn to live with. I have regular checkups. I've got an incredible team. I'm cancer-free at the moment. I'm healthy, and I'm probably back to 90%. I'm walking a lot more. You know, it was a really, really tough time, Danny. I couldn't walk back in, you know, April, May, June. It was really, I really had to sort of start again. It was very, very difficult. You know, I lost 4 stone in weight in hospital, and, you know, it just was a hard battle, but I had incredible support from my family, from my friends, from the boxing world. And you just really realize sort of how amazing the boxing world is sometimes. You know, people say, oh, it's so difficult, and there's, you know, so much money involved, and it's hard, and there's people always fighting for things, and it's, you know, there's some bad, you know, nasty sides of boxing, but there's also a really amazing side where there is a camaraderie, even if people are on sort of the other side or different promoters, whatever. I had so many amazing support messages, and I can't thank the boxing world enough. And although I disappeared, I had to, and I think that now I'm back. I'm fresh. I'm in a far better place than I think I've been in a long time, just from a rest more than anything. And I'm ready to go again, and I'm going to pace myself. And yeah, it was lovely. You know, a lot of boxing people came and saw me in hospital. A lot of people, you know, wrote me some really nice stuff, and I couldn't get back to everyone. I sort of put my phone away. I just concentrated on my getting better for my family, and for my 3 kids who need a dad, and they were desperately worried through it all, and it was really tough. So yeah, it's nice being back at home. Really nice, and I've never had this length of time at home before. Obviously, I'm back out there and doing things now, and you know, now I'm fully fit, but I'm not going to lose track of that again. I think, you know, a lot of traveling. You know, I see Frank and Eddie, and they're very good friends of mine. And Frank's, I don't know how many nights last year he spent in a hotel room, and Eddie, and they're here, there, and everywhere, and they love it, and they're all in. But it's just, I guess maybe it's a warning to everybody, you know, just to make sure you keep healthy and you check yourself out. Fortunately, I had some symptoms, and I acted on them, not immediately, but I acted on them fairly quickly. And thankfully the cancer hadn't spread. You know, it was stage 3. It hadn't gone into the rest of my body, and I was very, very lucky, and I had some amazing doctors and nurses, both on the NHS and private. I had a really incredible team, 4 hospitals, and, you know, the NHS is just the most amazing sort of group of people. And we were sick in COVID, and we were all clapping, and every Thursday night, but I didn't really know what I was clapping for until I was right in the middle of it, in the eye of the storm. And yeah, there were some amazing people that helped save me, and I'll forever be grateful, Danny.
Do you think, as men specifically, and in your case, in a, you know, very macho sport, there is that tendency to kind of put your head down, ignore symptoms, and just crack on and be tough, you know, man up and all of that sort of stuff?
I think there is, and I think that's a real issue. And everyone I've spoken to since I've had mine, I'm really honest about it. I talk about it because I never used to go to doctors ever. You know, I guess I thought I was invincible. Maybe we all do in the middle of it. And, you know, you say it's a macho sport. I'm not brave enough to get into a ring. And that's why I have so much respect for fighters of every level that get into a ring, whether they're, you know, 4-round fighters, they're journeymen, or they're, you know, your Floyd Mayweathers, anybody that gets in a ring, or in any sport, really. You know, they're there for our entertainment. They're trying to make the best that they can be, and they're very courageous. And I didn't think I ever had courage like that to do something. But I guess when you're in a fight and you're fighting for your life, really, and that's what it was, you get something from somewhere. And I didn't think I'd make it. At one point in April, I remember going to see my bladder consultant in December when I was much better, and he said, I said, Raj, I didn't think I was going to get through sort of April and May, and he said, I'll be honest with you, and I'll share it with you now. I didn't think you would either.
Wow.
It's tough, right? It was a year yesterday when I had the operation, but it was time before the operation. I had weeks in hospital where I was just, they didn't really know what was wrong at the time, and they found it, and then they weren't quite sure, and they had to make sure they were absolutely 100% on what to do. I got sepsis. I had other things. I had what's called a nephrostomy, which is like my kidney. One of my kidneys had completely failed. So there was other things as well as the cancer. So we had to sort of work through the way it was going to happen. And I had the big urology operation, back in March last year. And so that's like, it's a year. So it's quite an emotional time for me, I guess, that I've made it through that year, and I'm still around. And I think, I'm very grateful for the support I've had, and I just would not do anything for my kids. And it's, it's been really hard. But yeah, to answer your question, I think it's really important I was talking to Simon Jordan about it. He had prostate cancer, and he's been very open about it. And he found out his brother had it, and therefore he got tested. So I think it's really important, especially if people of my age, to go out, and even if you feel fine, I felt fine for quite a while. Maybe not mentally, but physically I felt fine, and suddenly I didn't, and there were symptoms. So that's when I acted. Fortunately, I did there and then. So yeah, I would just say, look, if I'm a warning sign to some people, and they see my word, I thought he was healthy. Well, I didn't used to go to doctors to get checked out. I just was too scared, and now I want to know what, how I am, because I owe that to my children, and to being as healthy as I can be for as long as I can be. So yeah, I think it is important. But there were many dark times over, late back end of 2022, early 2023, when I wasn't quite sure. I thought it was a urinary infection. There was other things. I wasn't mentally right. I just was burnt out. And I think that, getting that horrendous diagnosis, I thought they were going to tell me I didn't have any time at all. And, because I knew it was serious when they came round and closed the curtain and sort of gave me that sort of diagnosis. And it was really, really brutal. But yeah, there were things before that with nephrostomy and a kidney. I don't want to really go into more detail, but it was a tough time. I'm through it. It was a storm, and I'm through it. And yeah, my message would be to, if there's any symptoms, just get in, because doctors are amazing, and you can't do anything about what's inside you apart from listen to what they say and do what they ask you to do. And that's what I did every step of the way. And when I had my operation, after that, there was a huge amount of problems and issues that came from it, unfortunately. And I had to listen to them, and I had to go through a lot of pain and do some very difficult things. But I'm in a much better mindset now, mentally and physically, and I'm ready to go again, Danny. And yeah, I'm really happy, actually.
Well, I think we're all happy to see you back and on fighting form. Just one thing I did want to ask about that whole experience: when you stepped away, Sky put out a statement mentioning that you were away for medical reasons, but didn't go into any further detail. Obviously, it wasn't their place to. This led to quite a lot of speculation about your absence, all of which was completely untrue. How aware were you of that, and how did it add to the the mental side of the suffering you were going through?
I know, not really aware of what was happening, apart from the fact that I was going through personal issues. So I think that the boxing world is, as I said, brilliant in so many ways, and the fighters are at the epicenter and they're fantastic. But there's a lot of people that say a lot of things, and there's a lot of, I've always been in the middle of that, haven't I? Working with the likes of Frank and Eddie and Ben and everybody else, that, we're always there to be questioned, and why aren't you doing this? Why are you doing that? You're not good at this. You're good at that. You know that. You and I are well aware of what the of how how people talk, and how people throw things at you. Some which are fair enough. Some which you think, oh, I don't really understand that. Some which are true, some which aren't. So it's like, to be honest, my personal health is mine and my family's business. It's not it's not really anyone else's, is it? I mean, if you got ill, it wouldn't be, all I'd be doing is wishing you better. It's not my place. It's yours and your family's. And I think that there is a cutoff. When you're working, you work, and we do our best we can. I work incredibly hard for Sky, and I hope that they were pleased with what I did, and I was certainly pleased with the opportunities that I got, and I loved it. And there's always going to be people that don't think you're doing a good job, or don't think you're doing the right thing. You can only do what you do. So in many ways, I don't really get into that. I just sort of listen to the people that I really respect and I want to, I think I should listen to, who can criticize or can guide or can steer me. But also you've got to have a tough skin. I remember after the Froch Groves first fight, when the controversial ending, and it went for an amazing fight, and then everyone started booing, and Eddie was like, right, get the tin hats on and turn the phones off for 3 or 4 days. Yeah, it's a bit like that, isn't it? But for me, I was in a difficult place, and I know I needed to just switch off totally. One of the things I think I've been was on my phone so much. You're just constantly sort of looking at, checking it, everything, and we're all in that generation now, aren't we? But I think especially in the positions that I was in, you want to be on top of it. You want to do the best job you can. So yeah, I think I just shut myself away from everything. It doesn't bother me what people say. It's up to them. I know what I've gone through, and I know where I needed to get help, and I went and got it. So I feel much better from getting through the cancer, and as I said, I think I was exhausted, I was burnt out, and I had I was fighting for my life. So yeah, it was difficult. So speculation is speculation, and if people want to ask me, or my family want to ask me how I am, then I'll tell them how I am. It's not really, I don't know if it's anyone else's business really. It's a personal thing, your health, and all I can do is tell my story, that it was a really tough battle, but it's done now, it's over. I want to move on, and I've got nothing but admiration for Sky and how they've helped me through so much of this over 30 years, and I just I miss them, but it's time for me to go on and do other projects that I really want to do new challenges, to hopefully give back to the athletes that I adore. And I think it's, as I said, Sky put out that statement for a reason. I'm away for medical reasons, and that's it. I don't think I needed to go anywhere else but try and get better. And that's what I've done, and now I'm back. And if people want to use me on different projects and things, which I am doing, I'll talk to you about that in a sec. But I'm just very grateful to be alive and to be back, and to be clear-headed, and to be fresh, and to be physically well, although living with stoma is very, very difficult. But Tracy Emin talks a lot about it, and she's very open about it. And if you want to know how hard it is, then they can ask me, and they can come and see what I go through on a daily basis. But there's a lot of people that are in a much harder situation than I am. So I'm very grateful. I think what I did, Danny, actually was I went to work for the local food bank and helped the Homeless Association in Acton, which I think gave me a really different perspective on life as well. So yeah, I think this has been the most brutal year of my life, but it's also been the most educational, and I feel so incredibly strong and happy having gone through it, that I'm still able to be there and present for my kids.
As you alluded to there, you were at Sky for 30 years, wore pretty much every hat, particularly in the boxing sphere. Legendary commentator. I often tell people, Dev Sani, who does a lot of work now for Queensbury, kind of Frank Warren's right-hand man at the moment, says you're the greatest commentator ever in his view in boxing. So, you've got all that behind you. It would have been very easy for you to return to that life, either at Sky or, he's never had more broadcasters involved in boxing than we have right now in the UK. Why have you decided to take a different route?
I think when I was 9 years old, Danny, I wanted to be a commentator. I turned the TV down, I turned the radios off. I just wanted to commentate on sport generally. I was rubbish at sport, and that's all I ever wanted to do. I had posters up on the wall of whether it was Barry McGuigan, or whether it was Kenny Dalglish, or I don't know, John McEnroe, Chrissy Everett, Alex Hurricane Higgins. I mean, I was just mad on sport, and I watched more sport than any other kid, and I just wasn't very good at it. So I always wanted to be a commentator, but I think I always had a love for the sportsman and woman that I probably couldn't ever be, because I was always the last pick in football, and I always tried, but I was never any good. So I think I had incredible admiration for athletes, not just boxers, but tennis players, footballers, cricketers, darts, snooker, everything across the board, golf, rugby. There isn't a sport that if it's on, I wouldn't watch. So I think I wanted to be a commentator, and I think I've absolutely loved that. And look, picking up a mic again recently has been fantastic. And so I'm definitely not saying like I don't want to commentate again. And it's very kind of people to say you're a good commentator or whatever. But you and I know that you know how hard we are on ourselves, and I just want to try and do as good a job and call it as fairly as I can. And the one thing I do have is passion. I do love it. So I do want to still commentate. I still want to broadcast. So I'm a freelancer on my own business now. So it's a case of I got a call from the BBC, which was lovely, to go out and do the AJ Farm radio, which was a bit of a dream come true because I've always wanted to do radio. So I'm out there if people want to use me for different jobs. Izzy Asif asked me if I wanted to do the GBM Sports show in Sheffield a few weeks ago, and I thought, why not? I love grassroots boxing as well. I love boxers coming through, and I thought that would be fantastic. I'd love to do that. And yeah, I guess it's a bit like riding a bike. You pick the mic up and you go straight back into it, and I really enjoyed it. So I don't want to stop doing that. I do want to still broadcast, but I also want to really commit time to helping new ventures, helping sportsmen and women, that sort of thing. So I've teamed up with Ollie Weingarten, who's a great guy, who's been a general counsel. He's been at Premier League, he's been at Formula One, he's run his own business, he's been a boxer, sort of where I knew him from, but I'd heard about his reputation through obviously the sporting TV industry, etc. And a lot of people spoke really highly of him. So we got together, and he's got a great team. We built this team, this startup, and we're really, really genuinely excited about it. Summit Sports we launched a couple of weeks ago now, and I can't remember, it's sort of a whirlwind. We've got a launch party coming up in 2 weeks. So we're out there, and we are like kids running around trying to do as much as possible. So maybe it's that commitment, it's that 24/7. I've just got to be a little bit careful of. But it's very, very exciting. It's an opportunity for me to work with sportswomen, sportsmen, which I have loved. And I think if my goal was to commentate when I was a kid, my aim in the last few years has very much been to help athletes, and mentoring Savannah Marshall, taking her from when she was broken after the Olympics to when she turned pro, and looking at seeing how she's done. And then Daniel Altmaier, who came to me he was about 19, he was 220 in the world. He then crashed down the rankings, he got injured, he had a real difficult sort of couple of years, but he's regained himself. He's now in his mid-20s, and he's in the top 60, 70 in the world. He beat Yannick Sinner, the Australian Open champion, in Paris at Roland Garros. So it's a fantastic story. But more than that, I've helped him to, I think, establish his life, because sporting careers are so short. Injuries can happen, it can all be over like that. And it normally is by the time you're 35, 40, latest, really. So I just wanted to sort of help him think about life outside of it, and what he would do next, and what he would build, and maybe to invest money, and if he needed help on communication side or commercial side, or on storytelling, or on mental health, which I think is massively important. All of these things, charities, how to sort of set yourself up for life, really, because I think there's a real difficulty with that transition from being a sportsman or woman into the sort of real world. It's a bit, I guess, like leaving the army, or for me, leaving Sky after 30 years and going solo. You've got a lot of people supporting you and wanting you to do well, but ultimately it's on you now. I don't have a nice sort of, company surroundings where I'm sort of part of. Yeah, and I think it can be very, very sort of frightening and quite lonely, but it can also be really exciting. And I think I want to help athletes sort of get to that point, whether they're, got a couple of years left of their careers, or whether they're 14, 15, 16 and thinking about getting in, and maybe just sort of helping them with that life education, that it's always really important to live your dream, and to go for glory in your sporting arena, or your chosen sort of talent, but also to think about the other side. It's not get rich quick, let's not sort of have no plan B. And I think I learned that very early on with Spencer Oliver, when he had his injury, that we sort of fished him out, and he was pretty broken, and it was like, what is he going to do with his life? He was 22, 23, and we gave him a shot in media, and he was just great. And I think he's made a great career. out of it, and it's really, really good to see. And so I think there's things like that, and I see some fighters who've made a lot of money who just don't seem particularly happy, or some fighters that haven't and don't really know what to do. And I think there's that whole area I'm really interested in helping out in. So Summit Sports are going to, we're a different management company. I think we're more like, I guess, partners. We want to be a 360 sort of shop for our people, not even our clients. I think then it's closer than that. I want to get really close to the sportsmen and women. They have a trainer. We can't make them better in the ring or on the court or wherever, or as a Formula One driver. We can't make them better. We don't have that skill. We're not trainers, but what we can do is help them, commercially, legally, as all these things I've said, wealth management, mental health, guiding them, just being there, a shoulder to cry on. Some of the fighters we've been seeing, and we're going very aggressive at it, but aggressive but in a nice and respectful way. A lot of fighters obviously under contract to various other management companies. We respect them all, of course. We don't want to sort of step on toes. We don't want to start this on. We want to start this on the note that we are. I believe that we're very integral, and I really want to be trusting to these men and women that join us. It's a two-way thing. We want them to really want to come with us, and we want really to get them and not to have them alongside us. And I think for a long time, sometimes, especially in boxing, athletes have been a bit lost about sort of where they are, and sometimes they have a bad day. And I've had a lot of people call me over the years and say, Adam, I don't really know which direction. And I thought, you know what, if I can give something back, especially after what I've been through as well, if I can give something back to help them, I really want them to succeed. Whether it's, I don't know, whether it's a Matchroom fighter or a Queensbury fighter, or it doesn't matter, or a boxer fighter, or a GBM Sports fighter. I don't mind who it is. I just sort of want them all to do well. That's just my natural sort of manner. I don't want them to have to struggle. It's a hard enough life being an athlete. And if there's anything I can do, just from a support point of view, that's what I want to. So I said to Ollie, I said, look, I'm in this, providing that is the way we are going to approach it. Yes, it's a business. Of course, we all want to earn money, but it has to be right for me to do it. I'm the sort of guy, Danny, that I do this sort of stuff for free, but I can't. I have to earn money for my family, and it's a business, and I'm on my own now. And of course, it's like we've got to earn money to help our families. But I want to do this because it's in here. I love sportsmen and women. They've been on my walls. They're on my kids' walls. My youngest Tilly has just started boxing, and we were talking about Katie Taylor the other night. And there's inspirations, and I think these inspirations sometimes they've not had the best ride, the easiest ride. It's been tough, and especially when they lose or things go wrong, which inevitably they do, particularly in boxing, which is such a brutal business. Huge rewards, but also huge lows as well, terrible lows. And I think that happens in other sports. And what I like about Summit is it's not just boxing. We've got verticals in motorsport and in creating gaming. So we've got influencers and creators already. So we're up and running with a team, and they can help out with the boxers that like gaming, or Formula One that can support boxers, or young karters or whatever. So we've got these verticals. We're hoping maybe to go into football too, and who knows down the line, maybe other areas, because the idea is that we want to help you in the best possible way, maybe more holistically or better than any athlete's been helped. I mean, I'm sure there's been huge success stories with great management companies and great trainers and great promoters down the line. Of course they have, but I just want to help out in a business which we really work closely with the athlete. We're almost sort of holding their hands and saying, look, you need me, I'm here for you. And as I said, I'm sure there's loads of other examples of that going on already around the world, but we can only concentrate on what we're doing, which is we want Summit Sports to be a squad of fantastic athletes who are with us for the long run we can see them sort of helping out into their retirement and beyond, because I think that transition is really, really tough. And if there's any way that I can help make sportsmen and women happier and more comfortable with advice, with the knowledge that I've picked up over the years in the business and the industry, then I'd love to do that. And I've really, really enjoyed working with GBM Sports. They give me an opportunity to commentate. I really like Izzy and his team. I think what they're doing is fantastic. they're so passionate, and you know, yes, they are a small sort of hall in terms of sort of boxes and fights, but they're making their fights really interesting. They're developing their fighters in a very creative way, and also they are putting on the big shows. You know, they're putting a lot of production into it, and it looks fantastic, and they're great nights out. So GBM Sports is another one that I'm really interested in. Summit Sports is going to be fantastic. I just know it. I know the people involved, Duncan and Ben and Ollie. They're just, and Sarah. We've got a really great group of guys. We've got a creator, YouTuber called Oakley as well, and I'm learning more about that business. Obviously, I work with KSI Logan also. I had that crossover, but I'm learning more about creators and influencers and gamers who can help out. And yeah, it's just really it's a really exciting time, Danny, you know, to be involved in the business from the start. And yeah, it's great. I really want to give back, and that's not being fluffy or whatever. It's just genuinely what I feel. I want to give back. I'm so grateful for what Sky have done, and I'm so grateful for what my doctors have done. But I just really want to give back now, and yeah, move forwards. But if you give me a mic and give me a fight, hey, I'll give it as good as I've ever. I'll try my best. I'll still try and be that commentator that some people love, some people hate, whatever. But I'll still give the drama and the passion. And you know, if I get those opportunities and it works out, around my commitments to these new athletes that we're going to hopefully work with, and then fantastic. I can't wait to get back on the mic again and do that sort of stuff.
Brilliant, Adam. It's an absolute pleasure to see you looking so well. I know the visual's not great, so people might not appreciate just how well you do look at home, but you can trust me, folks. Back in business, no doubt, and wish you the very best of luck with Summit Sports. As you said, with a team that strong, I can't see how it can fail. So, great place to start.
Thank you. I really appreciate it, and you know, I hope to keep in touch. And you know, it's great knowing you for all these years. You know, you're like me. You've been through it all. We've been through a lot. It was actually amazing working with Steve Bunce out in Saudi, and the two of us have. How many of us go back that far? And you know, Paul Ron Lewis, who we lost last year, was another. But there's Gareth A. Davis. There's certain people, Jeff Powell, have gone right back, and Bunty was one, and I never really worked alongside him, and it was just an absolute pleasure. It was great fun, and yeah, I guess I look at it in a really different light now. Yeah, it was really nice for the BBC to ask me to do that, and you know, maybe the phone won't go like it did when I was at Sky, but if it does, I'd love to come off the sub-bench and do a bit more.
Well, there are positives to the phone not going quite as much as when you're at Sky, I think. But yeah, really pleasure catching up, mate. And yeah, I'm sure we'll see each other in person soon.
Thanks, Danny. Take care.
And you.